what is it right now that the users are truly right now being able to kind of like say, man, this is something I need to incorporate in my daily life?
It's sleep is like the next 10,000 steps. Like, you know how everybody was tracking 10,000 steps. Right now, we are seeing the shift in the mood of the public towards sleep. You know, more and more people care about sleep. They take, 8 hours is now, it's good. Like, it used to be like hustle culture used to be, sleep 4 hours, wake up 6 a.m., continue with the day. Now it's like, hey, actually, I want to go to bed, get my 8 hours, and then be productive. And we try to ride it. Like, we ride this trend effectively as Sleepagotchi. And effectively, right now, we shipped the app only like 7 days ago. We only were like in closed betas before, or alphas. Right now, like a week ago, we kind of did the preview campaign to, hey, this is part of the game, what's coming, of the apps is coming, please try it out. And we are seeing like big adoption. Like, we are seeing some very, very promising numbers, both in user numbers, and B, in terms of the retention as well. And what I think that people sometimes maybe miss about Sleepagotchi is that mm, it's not only a game, it's also like an app. And whereas people from games can churn, it's actually very hard to churn from a utility app over time. And we still have players with a 1,000+ day streak who've been logging in for 1,000 days plus, day in, day out, since our very, very first early prototype. We have 1,000+ users with a streak more than 365 days. Like, there is no airdrop in the world that can justify, right, such a long experience, such a long usage of that. So we effectively, because we're kind of structured as an app, and there's like a very, very clear time frame for the usage, which is the morning, people incorporate this naturally. Like, and I can be a little bit more specific, is that people open Sleepagotchi before WhatsApp, before Instagram, based on the data. Like, that's what we compete for. We don't compete for your 7 p.m. like Fortnite session or like Call of Duty session with your friends. We compete for your morning session, like 1 minute a day. Just give it 1 minute. That's fine.
You made me think of like, okay, how are you kind of like now integrating the Web3 layer to what you just mentioned, right? Like, because now you've really, for me, like when you mentioned that you're looking at this as an app, right, as a data app, you quickly made me think of like what does Web2 see? What does Web2 see as a newbie coming in, right? Because like, how do I share this at a dinner table with my grandmother, my mother, my kids? Like, how does everybody able to integrate into this and not have to have that burden of, the technology questions of create your wallet, sign your wallet, all these kind of stuff? How are you envisioning the Web3 integration or the layer of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we've been in like in a PvP environment for a very long time inside Web3. We need some more PvE environment, and for that we need to make new people coming in and new people not having fear about the space. So we actually don't know, like we don't actually tell you like during the onboarding that there's like some Web3 involved. Like, we don't ask you to create wallets. We're only going to ask you to create wallets once it's time to withdraw your rewards. But until then, we don't want to like tell you, hey, you need to buy an NFT to play this. Hey, you need to sign like or do something with it. Like, it's just such a massive friction point. Like, right now, we actually have a login page before the game, before the app experience. I don't like the Gmail login. I want it to be as late as possible. All right. So we try to make it so that let me just share the app a little bit. It's gonna be easier. Like, share my screen, but you basically get your dino inside this room who walks around, and each of those items, a lot of them you want to be tradable, like rare tradable items. So you customize your room, and effectively, does your grandmother or like your child needs to know that this thing can be tradable on Solana or on blockchain? Hey, as long as I can send it to my friend, and as long as maybe he can send me like $2 back, for example, for it, then I intuitively understand this, and and once we as developers abstract away everything else to make this transaction as smooth as possible, it's gonna go like viral, right? We're just waiting, right, to build everything out once we have all those social stuff inside.
Yeah, and you made me starting thinking about like data from that, from like why it's so important to track data, but also like how important it is to have a decentralized data versus going on like the ones that you see the I don't know what, like, these rings and watches and like all these things that I even have that I've probably consented to a million different things and I don't even know what I consented for, right? The data there though is really important for them because again they turn around. Why is it important for Sleepagotchi and data and for Web3 users to be able to say, hey, man, like there's a lot more power to you at your own hands rather than some massive giant Samsung or whatever it is that takes that and goes and runs with the data?
Yeah, absolutely. We um, there is a deepen angle to Sleepagotchi. We don't push it out too much, but we do generate like a ton of data from all sorts of sources. We are effectively an aggregator of all devices. Like we integrate with Aura, with Fitbit, with Whoop, with every single device. So with every single device. So effectively, uh, we allow users to effectively own it, right? And in the future, if we decide to share this data with somebody, we're going to ask you, hey, do you want to do it? And B, do you want to get rewards for it? All right, that's where also the value is coming in. Is for there are folks who are prepared to pay for this data. Why not get paid directly rather than some random company you don't know about and you don't have any stake in?
Yeah, the reason I ask is because, like, man, the partnerships that you guys could form, right, with like health, diets, meditation, all these things that like the watch makes you do now, right? It's like it'll tell me like, hey, Jorge, stop and breathe, and it's like, okay, and it's like meditate, right? But like again, with sleeping is in order to get to that like ultimate sleep, there are things throughout the day that you need to do in order to get ready, the brain ready for sleep, right? Because or else you'll be laying in bed, and turning the blue screen on and off and all these things that you have to do nowadays just to get like ready for bed if you're looking at your cell phone before bed. I think that the partnership aspect of what you guys are building is just massive, right? There's going to be so many different partners that would want to come on board and work with you outside of Web3, Web2 as well. And I think like how do we start positioning ourselves that this is why Web3, the blockchain technology that's powering all this, is vitally important for the future of data, of gaming, of sleeping, of an application like Sleepagotchi. And I think like I think you guys are very much nailing that. Just trying to understand now like where partnerships are going to be falling and how you guys are going to want to attack that.
Hey, like one of the partnerships is like exactly the wearable devices. Like, hey, we had a partnership with Kudis, right, for building on Solana, for example. And in the future, like for example, you could say, hey, Kudis owners are going to receive extra rewards for this specific week, and then in that way we incentivize official users to get the Kudis devices. Right? It can be any other device like Samsung or Aura or Fitbit or Apple Watch. Another one that I think people sometimes miss is that because we develop sort of high fidelity virtual rooms for our users to have, is like over here, like the lanterns, the wardrobe over there. We want those items to be branded with very cool like Web3 stuff. We want it to be like a bonk themed carpet. We want it to be like a plush Bangu, like over there sitting with you. Like we want you. We want the owner. First of all, we want to bring new eyeballs to those communities, but we also want those communities to be like, hey, I got something for holding a token. And we actually had a Telegram app as well called Sleepagotchi Lite, which we used to go to market, which became top 5 grossing game on Telegram even before we launched this thing. And we did a bonk activation. We said, hey, if you hold 1,000 bonk, we're going to give you a cool card, which you can use inside the Telegram minigame. And we were able to drive 10,000 new wallets, new Solana addresses, new net new bonk holders to the bonk ecosystem through this partnership. So effectively, we can drive a lot of new people who are outside of this ecosystem into like the Solana space, for example.
Yeah. No, I think like my brain right now is going a million miles an hour with like what you just mentioned is like, I come from the Web2 space in corporate and finance, and a lot of the times that like corporate and finances, they always push like their like apps, but they would brand it in their apps, right? And like you just mentioned, like Bonk in there, right? Like it'd be cool, like Nike, right? Like Nike factory inside of there, and it's like the Nike store is pushing it with their application of like ways to gamify it. But again, you know, that like you mentioned, back to the steps, right? It's why they put tracking devices on shoes. Remember when that was a big thing, and like everybody's got to go get the shoe with like to make sure the steps, and then it became the wearable, watches. And yes, my Kudus ring, you know what I mean? Like all these things that like are important. But I think like as I start understanding more of what you're saying, it's like, wow, the door is really open there for partnerships to like, I don't want to say white label because you don't have to white label, but white label aspects of the game where they're like, hey, it's a portal that allows them to get more into it. And I think that not many people understand right now that healthcare in the United States, at least in the United States, is definitely something that is coming down hard. And Web2 companies are looking ways to improve health, right? And they are very much looking at apps like this. It's why they've been pushing, hey, how happy are you, and how are you doing your daily counts and all this stuff. And I think, man, you guys are entering a market that's definitely needing these kind of applications. That's definitely needing these. The users are seeking for an application like Sleepagotchi.